Today I'm going to be showing you how to make this super easy sky replacement effect. This is a super simple concept to grasp and you can get a lot of different looks with it. So make sure to drop a sub and a like if you enjoyed, but let's go ahead and get into it. So the first thing you're going to do once you have your clip in After Effects, go ahead and hit Ctrl D to duplicate this layer, then double click it and go up to your roto brush tool. Now what you're going to do is roto brush the sky, and the key is you want to make it look as good as possible so we have no issues later in the effect.
So I just finished rotoscoping. Looks pretty good. Alright, so head back to your main composition. Don't hit freeze yet. What you're going to do is come down here to the top layer that you rotoscoped, head to your effect controls, and hit invert foreground/background. What this is going to do is change which side is masked out. So as you can see, we have our main clip masked out here. Now we're going to go ahead and freeze that layer. Now I'm going to head back to my main comp and go ahead and add some feather to this rotoscope layer and some shift edge as well. Maybe a little bit more. Doesn't look too bad. You're probably going to want to make sure yours is a little bit better though, but I'll show you a trick to fix it in just a second so it doesn't really matter. Okay, so what you're going to do now is go ahead and make a null object, and then turn on this bottom layer and go ahead and double click it and head over to your tracker tab. If you don't see it, what you can do is come over here to window and find down here where it says tracker and go ahead and check that on. Alright, so on your tracker tab, hit track motion and you're gonna see this little track point right here. What you're gonna do is make that just a little bit bigger. I'm gonna go ahead and zoom back out, and what you're gonna do is drag this up to the sky, and the key is you don't really want it in the sky, you kind of want it in the foreground, and make sure you pick a high contrast area. I think this will work pretty well. What we're gonna do now is head over to edit target, click that and change that to null. Go ahead and press OK. Now go on over to analyze and hit the play button, and as you can see, that tracks our point. That was a pretty good one too. Definitely think that'll work. And now you're gonna need some overlays that I left in the description if you want to follow along, but really you can use anything you want. I left a link below where you can get some of these assets. It's free. You can get up to 5 a day. The first one I'm gonna use is the rainbow tunnel. It'll be the first link in the description. I'm gonna go ahead and drag that in between both main clips, and as you can see, we have it in our background here. What I'm gonna do now is come over to this little thing right here. I think it's called a pick whip, maybe wrong on that, but go ahead and left click and bring it over to the null object we made earlier, and as you can see, this layer is now tracked to the null. What we're gonna do now is go over and check the motion blur box right here. Make sure the motion blur is checked up here as well. So now there's a few different things we can do with this, but first go ahead and make it 3D and open up the transform, move it up a little bit and change the X rotation to make it look a little bit more 3D, and I'm gonna drag it down just a little bit. As you can see, it looks pretty good, but if you notice, the rotoscope in the background isn't that good. If yours is the same way and you were unable to get it rotoscope properly, what you can do is head up to your rotoscope layer, go up to your effect controls, go over to your shift edge and bring that down a good bit until you can't see any of your sky. Then go over to contrast and bring that down until you can see your trees a little bit more defined, but you don't want it too low because then you'll still see the sky. So I'm going to bring that up a little bit more, and I think that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and play it. Definitely a lot better than it was. If you want to add some more feather, you can do that as well. Doesn't look too bad, but really you just want to play with the settings until you can get something that looks pretty good. But your goal for these sky replacement effects should be try to get still shots so it's a lot easier to mask. Now that we did the rainbow tunnel sky replacement, I'm going to show you how you can do it with electricity effects. So go ahead and delete your rainbow, and I'm going to go ahead and drag in my electricity effect from Footage Crate. Again, link in the description, check it out. As you can see, I just got a little streak of lightning right here. What we're going to do is hit toggle switches and modes and go ahead and change it to add, then bring it in between the two clips just like last time, and go over to the pick whip and track that to the null. And I'm going to go ahead and toggle switches and modes again and turn on the motion blur, and I'm going to go ahead and position this electricity into my sky here. I think that looks pretty good. As you can see, the electricity just tracks through the sky. What I'm going to do now is go ahead and speed up this electricity clip. I think it'll look a lot better. So I'm going to right click, go to time, and then time stretch, and bring that to about 50 and hit OK. Go ahead and drag this over here, and then as you can see, that looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and just start duplicating these electricity effects. So I just went ahead and threw a bunch of electricity in the sky here. You can take your time and make it look really good. I'm just using this as an example, but really you can do so much with this concept. The possibilities are really endless. Just any type of footage you have, you can just put anything into the sky and it'll look pretty good. And it's a super simple effect as well. I'm actually going to show you guys a few more examples of what you could do with this effect. I put this kind of shockwave effect in here using the exact same technique I just showed you with the electricity. I just put it in between the clips in the sky, tracked it to the null, put on motion blur, and change the blending mode to screen, or you can change it to add. It doesn't really matter, just depending on what look you want. I put these glitches in the sky using the exact same technique, just changing the blending mode and tracking it to this null.
And that's about it for this effect. If you want to see more tutorials like this, make sure to drop a sub and a like, but that's about it. See ya.